This is the rotoscoping in Photoshop tutorial. First you need to open up Photoshop and you need to create a new file. And this file needs to be film and video, HDV, HDTV 720p. Everything else, just leave it the way it is. Reset the motion workspace. And we want to save this new file with a name. And we want to create where it's going to go. So I'm going to put it on the desktop. And I'm going to put it into my Rotoscope tutorial folder because I'm going to be using the MOV. I'm going to name this my last name, first initial, underscore, roto. Okay, now I don't need the libraries open because that just takes up too much space. I'm going to close my libraries. And I don't need the histograms. I'm going to close my histogram. So I need all the layers I can get hold of. In this layers panel, now I haven't created the timeline yet. Don't do that yet. First, I want to add a new layer, and I'm going to use this to put my movie, my Greyhound movie in, my MOV. So I'm going to select File, Place, and I can use either Embedded or Linked. So let's use Linked since I have it all in the same folder. This will be easy then to transport. And I'm going to select my movie. When it comes in, you have the handles, so you can go ahead and resize it. So resize it using Shift with the corner handles. Hold on Shift so it won't stretch it out. We want it to be the correct proportions. We don't want to stretch out Greyhound. When you're ready, and you say that's the right size, I'm going to click on the check mark to accept the change. So now I have a file with no frames yet, but a video in it. So let's Command-S. Okay, make sure you have the correct motion workspace, and we've already reset the motion workspace and we've cleared out all the extra panels that we didn't need. Now we want to create a video timeline. So here in our video timeline you see we have the Greyhound, and since the background is still background locked, it doesn't have any length of time for a track for the background. So just leave that for now. We're just going to leave that for now. Okay. In the timeline panel, you want to choose the advance to next frame to see there's the next position for the Greyhound. Because the frames per second for the Greyhound video is only 15, and since we are using a 30 frame per second or 29.97 frames per second preset for our video, there are 2 frames to each 1 frame of the Greyhound. Move your playhead back to the beginning of the first frame. And now, using the layers panel, add 11 frames because I know there are 11 frames in this video. Okay, now advance the playhead till you see the beginning of the next move. There we go. So that is where we want to trim this. And to do that, you can just click on this scissors while the layers are selected. So I'm going to select all of the layers that I want to trim. And now I'm going to click on the scissors. And now you see we have double the number of layers, but every other one is a copy, and the copy is the part of the frames we don't need. So I'm going to go to each copy layer, I'm holding down Command, and that allows me to select layers that are not next to each other. Okay, now I'm going to click on the trash can, and now we're back to having just 2 frame layers. Now our next step is we want to line these up. To line these up, the first layer is the first frame, and that's the track number 1, which is layer 1, is the first frame, and we want it to stay there. Layer 2, we want to line up with the first layer. That's the second frame. The third frame, we want it to line up with the one below it. So take each of these layers and line them up with the layer below it so that the beginning of the next layer is at the end of the first layer until you have stair steps. And now you see that everything lines up with the ending frame of the Greyhound. Command-S to save that point. Now use your Layers panel to lock all of the layers. Select the first, or select the Greyhound and then shift-click on the top layer. Using the menu at the side, come down and lock layers. We want to lock all. So now they're all locked, but we want to work on the first one. So I'm going to unlock the first layer. I'm going to come over and I'm going to select a paintbrush, and I'm going to make sure that I've got a nice purple color for my MIB. So I'm going to be using this purple color for the foreground color. I'm going to check to make sure that my paintbrush, the tool, has a nib that is a nice hard-edged and not very big and not very small. So I'm using 10 pixel brush. And now I'm going to come to my picture here. I'm going to go back to frame 1. So I'm back at the beginning. So this is the first frame. Select layer 1 and trace. I find it best to make sort of little loops at the ends of the legs and the knees, and so I can connect them after I've made my loops. Because you just want to get a sense of movement. The exact detail of the animal is not important, just a sense of movement. As you finish each layer, you want to make sure to go ahead and lock it. Move up to the next frame by using the advance and unlock the next layer. Make sure you're on it so you can draw, and Command-S to make sure you've saved everything. You can do those in any order as long as you do them. Okay, so now you can see what this looks like. So here's all these. Let's get back to easier to view. I'm going to go down to no thumbnails so we can see this a little bit better. And hit. Okay, so if we look at this, got it following the moves. Now we can actually turn off the eyeball for the Greyhound himself. We can watch it running. So if it's not repeating, that just means you need to make sure, if it's not repeating, you need to look and you have to have loop playback selected in the side menu here. Okay, so that's how you do that. And if you want it to have the white background, just leave white background down here, and you go to File, Export, and Render Video, and make sure you have these settings. The H.264, and we want it to go into the folder that I want it to go into, which is Rotoscope Tutorial. And say choose, and now I can render it. If you wanted to render it without the white background, you could turn off the background, and then it will come out as though it were on black. So we can File, Export, and you can Render Video, and we'll call this one B. Same settings, but it's got this transparent background. And now we should be able to save and quit. And here it is.